COVID will fade, and not soon, but eventually. The economy will recover, not quickly, but it will slowly recover. What will not fade soon is the new depression. The effects will be intergenerational.
Rich elites and government bureaucrats, out of touch with everyday Americans, they crushed everyone else for no good reason. Here's the pandemic, here's the depression. What's the link between the two of them? The answer is it's the lockdown. They're all passengers in a lifeboat. They're all survivors in a lifeboat. Some may be taller, some may be smarter, whatever, but they're all in the same boat. They're all going to sink or survive together. People don't understand the Fed. They don't understand monetary policy. And by the way, the elites like it that way just fine. The creation of money is one of the great mysteries. So that's the problem. For those who do understand it, they have increased the money supply radically, but it really doesn't matter very much at this point because there's no velocity, there's no turnover of money. We can talk more about that.
Let's talk about the consequences of this excessive money supply. What does it mean for the average American here?
Yeah, well, right now, it doesn't mean anything. And here's why. The Austrian economists, the neo-Keynesians, the monetarists, they all agree on one thing. That's, if you create money, you're going to get inflation, and increase in money supply will be an increase in prices, et cetera. That's not true. It's empirically not true. Just go back to 2008. In 2008, the Federal Reserve balance sheet was $800 billion. Today, it's about $7.5 trillion. Even as late as 2015, it was $4.5 trillion. Where's the inflation? We don't have it. So that means that money supply does not correlate to inflation. The key to inflation is not money supply, it's velocity. It's the turnover of money. And the problem right now, are they creating money? Yeah, they're creating it like crazy.
Right.
But all they do is they give it to the banks to buy treasury notes. That's how they increase the money supply. They stick the treasury notes on the Fed balance sheet and they just sit there. The banks have the money. What do they do with the money? They give it back to the Fed in the form of excess reserves, and they get a little bit of interest on it. But the money doesn't go anywhere. It's the lending, the spending, the increase in basically the turnover of money that could give you inflation, but we don't have that. Why? Because people are scared. If you lost your job or your business shut down, you're not spending, you're paying bills. But when you pay bills, that's not spending, that's just reducing your balance sheet. Spending is like going out and buying dinner or Christmas presents or a new car or something. People are not doing that with very few exceptions. So, and the banks aren't really willing lenders at this stage, except to certain sectors. So you're not getting the lending and spending, you're not getting the turnover, and therefore you're not getting the inflation. The money is just piling up and it's not going anywhere. So for now, the increase in the money supply doesn't mean anything. That could change, but we have to watch for that. When people say, is the dollar going up or the dollar going down, they look at the euro-US dollar cross rate, or they look at the dollar-yen cross rate, et cetera. And I tell people those measures are meaningless because, if you're in the export-import business, you care about the foreign exchange rate. But all the major currencies, the 7 or 8 major currencies that make up the IMF Global Reserve Report, they're all passengers in a lifeboat. They're all survivors in a lifeboat. Some may be taller, some may be smarter, whatever, but they're all in the same boat. They're all going to sink or survive together. The only way you can understand what's going on in currencies is compare it to gold. And so when the dollar price of gold goes up, I just say, well, that means gold doesn't change. It's atomic number 79. It's an element. It's the same thing. If the dollar price of gold is going up, that means the dollar is getting weaker. If the dollar price is going down, that means the dollar is getting stronger. So if you want to forecast gold prices, you have to ask yourself, is the dollar getting stronger or weaker? And then that's a pretty good basis for making a forecast. Yeah, the gold Bitcoin comparison is a straw man. It doesn't mean anything. That's typical Wall Street research, which I pretty much ignore. I look at good research, but I don't put Wall Street in that category. Here's the thing. Bitcoin and gold are both going up because of concerns because of loss of confidence in the dollar. So I don't see a Bitcoin gold trade-off. First of all, the numbers don't add up. The total market cap, I understand that Bitcoin in percentage terms has had a great run in 2020. It's gone from about $9,000 to $20,000. That's a 100% increase. I get that. But the entire market cap of Bitcoin, if you took all the Bitcoins in the world times $20,000, It's not that much. It's certainly tiny compared to gold, and gold is tiny compared to the foreign exchange market. So there's no, it's not like a zero-sum game and people are getting out of gold and they're going into Bitcoin. That's not happening. What is happening is that people are getting into gold and into Bitcoin at the same time because they want to get out of the dollar. Here's the pandemic, here's the depression. What's the link between the two of them? The answer is it's the lockdown. Lockdowns don't work. They're unnecessary. There are things you can do. There are better things you can do that are more effective and less expensive, but that's not what the politicians want. But we're in a new lockdown right now, so you're going to get a new recession. This is one of the easiest forecasts I've ever done. First quarter of 2021, you're going to have a recession. These stocks are going to back off. Don't worry about inflation. You should be more concerned about deflation, which is coming. Gold will do very well in that environment because of the political and economic uncertainty. And also, we're going to get declining interest rates. So lower interest rates is a tailwind for gold. Political uncertainty is a tailwind for gold. So gold should do very well starting now going into 2021. The worst thing you can do in any asset class is go all in on anything. Diversification is the key. Most people don't understand diversification. They think if they own 30 stocks in 10 sectors, they're diversified. And I say, no, you're not. You've got one asset class, okay, and they're highly correlated. So I wouldn't get all out of equity. I would lighten up on equities. I would increase my allocation to cash because cash reduces volatility in your portfolio. And I would absolutely have 10% of investable assets in gold, silver, or gold mining shares. Now, some people say, well, Jim, if that's the way you feel, why not go all in? Why not 50%? You know, but that's up to you. I don't recommend those kind of high percentages. You don't need them. If I'm right about the price of gold going to $10,000 to $15,000 an ounce in the coming years, 10% allocation is going to do just fine. Now, that's going to save your portfolio. But the question is there something you could have done that would have been as effective at a much lower cost? And the answer is yes. The simplest, washing hands, wearing a mask, social distancing, and maybe canceling big crowd events, you know, like football games or whatever. If you just did that, you would have had the same effect, same benefit of a lockdown at a much, much lower cost. We didn't have to shut down bars, restaurants, salons, dry cleaners. That's 50% of the economy. It's 45% of jobs. We've destroyed the economy for no good reason because, you know, every other seat in the hair salon and wear a mask, that works fine. You don't have to close the place. But what you had were elites, rich elites and government bureaucrats out of touch with everyday Americans. And I dare say, you know, same thing in Canada with your prime minister up there, who, you know, they were unaffected. They've got places to go. They can work from home. They've got plenty of money. They're not worried about job layoffs, least of all government bureaucrats, but they crushed everyone else for no good reason.